The tax reform bills before the National Assembly represent the next pivotal step in the country's economic recovery process. These reforms aim to consolidate the gains made so far to ensure sustainable revenue generation and lay the foundation for a robust, inclusive economy. To speak on stakeholders' approach to revenue generation amid tax reforms and reasons why these bills will not only prevent further economic decline, but also catalyze a rapid economic turnaround for the country, is a tax expert who is also an economist. Dr. Bode Gbore, you are welcome to the program.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Neka. Good afternoon, Nigerians.
You're welcome, sir. Now, I would like to start with the current state of tax reforms in Nigeria. What's your take on the recent development, and how can stakeholders work together to ensure these reforms lead to increased revenue generation?
Let me start by saying that most of the tax laws that we have in Nigeria to date are laws of the past, really. We're in 2024. Let me bring it to your knowledge. You know, when Nigeria discovered oil, petroleum, for example, we enacted a law around petroleum. You know, you develop some business, you enact laws around that particular tax. Now, it's been a number of years since we had all sorts of taxes that were into law. In 2024, those things have to change. You have to look at what are the, predominant laws for today. What are the laws that should, be in Nigeria as it is today? And of course, you know that tax collected also is to make sure that you divide or you spread, earnings and resources around the nation, right? We have discovered, as unfortunately, that just about 30% or even less, from our knowledge, is actually less than 30% of Nigerians are the ones who pay tax right now. So every single law you have today is just applying to 30% or less. In the last few years, you had, I think it was FRS chairman, Tunde Fowler, who said, let's expand the tax net and all of that. So you have reasons to, one, expand the tax net, two, manage the tax better, right? But we have an event coming up which says, what's the role of even stakeholders in taxes? Who are those who receive the taxes? Who are those who spend the taxes? Who are those who manage it? That's what I think we are looking at right now, to look at how you make taxpayers more comfortable and willing to pay. Now, if I'm paying taxes and I do not seem to see or convinced by what you do with the taxes, then it's difficult for me to want to pay some more. How do you now expand the tax net if you've not even convinced Nigerians enough to even pay? And don't forget also, quite a number of people who pay taxes these days, they even, escape. They don't want to pay. Those who are lower, at the lower level, are paying more consistently. I won't say more, but more consistently. So the new reforms looks at how you remove those who are paying too much and then go back to those who should really be paying, increase a bit more, reduce on this side, and bring a law that you can say, for 2024, this is Nigeria's tax law. I think that's what that group is trying to achieve.
Okay, that's nice. By enhancing revenue generation, we no doubt reduce dependence on external borrowing and pave the way for sustainable growth and development, fair and inclusive system. But what other measures do you think should be in place for this to happen?
Well, let me put this to you, and this is not going to sound nice. You're not likely to develop a nation without borrowing a bit more into development. You're not likely to develop. The difference between Nigeria as a developing nation, right, and a developed nation is really the borrowing. Now, from part of what we discovered back, in school, that's even recent, is that, you see, the number of developed nations that you have, let's say 10 out of them, of the most developed nations, 7 out of those 10, 7 are the world's highest debtors. These are the developed nations, but they are highest debtors. So sometimes you say, oh, Nigeria is borrowing too much, but those who are developed are borrowing to develop. So we've not really gone close to borrowing enough to become or to translate from a developing nation to a developed nation. We haven't borrowed enough. You may wish to know, ask questions, okay, we borrow, but there are corruption here and there. I agree with you. I mean, funds should be better managed, right? But the truth about it is, as bad as corruption is, if you compare the nations that you call, developed nations and all that, you hear more of corruption in those places at higher level than at a Nigerian level. I know that doesn't sound good, all right? The fact remains that there should not be corruption at all, okay? But I think that we need to borrow more if we must move from a developing nation to a developed nation. And I agree that we should manage our resources even better. I agree with that.
Now, the reforms are said to be designed to create a system that is equitable, ensuring that every individual and business contributes their fair share. Yeah. How can this be monitored?
Remember that the chairman of that committee, Taiwo Yedele, had mentioned, and I mean, if this part fails, everything may fail. He spoke about automation. And that's why you find the NIMC, you find the Nigerian NIN, you find the BVN, you find them all related, right, and linked into a hub, for example. So part of what he's trying to achieve is bring all the laws into one. If you need to pay payee, which is pay as you earn, or you pay petroleum tax, or you pay company tax and all of that, they are all related to your BVN and NIN. So you actually have one single hub that shows that you have paid your payee, you paid your company income tax, you paid petroleum, you paid every single tax that you need to pay. So it's all really dependent on automation and a better data system. You may look at it this way. I've always had an issue with that. Sometimes when we speak about the Nigerian economy, we point to, oh, the data shows this, the data shows that. The honest truth about it is the data in the Nigerian system right now is not intact. So you cannot really say you can rely heavily on particular things as far as Nigerian environment is concerned in data. So we're going to have to be relying on automated system which links every single human being by the BVN and NIN, and every single card you have will have only one hub, and all the data is in there. We can tell who you are. If you pull money from A, B, and C, you can tell. I mean, you can even see a bit of that with the CBN these days. If you pull money from one bank, they can take your money from the other bank. That's already, a working system. So that's what I, think will make it work, of course.
Okay, do you see the technology-driven system of tax collection becoming simpler, more efficient, and less prone to abuse thereby encouraging voluntary compliance?
Well, I mean, if you really want to become a developed nation, as you say, you must you must be automated. That's the real difference between a Nigerian environment and, say, England and the US. I mean, if you speak to some of the members we have, family members you have, they tell you, oh, they're going to, file their tax returns, file their tax reports, and all of that. That's because of automation. It shows that you've not paid, So we need to move Nigeria to that place where technology begins to work well. Don't think that PHCN is the only thing that makes that technology work or not work. There are other things, software and all of that. The number of children we put in schools who are studying software engineering, studying cyber security and all of that. These are the guys we really need these days to help us to make sure that things like this work and work effectively.
All right, Dr. Bode Gbore, thanks very much for sharing your thoughts with us this afternoon.
Thank you very much.